10 minutes
Yeah,
before?
I just wrote you back. Yeah, we can stop whenever you want, not a problem. And depending on whether we get any takers today or not, we can end it whenever.
Okay, cool. I mean, I'm good. My buddy's like, I'm gonna be there at 11 o'clock sharp.
Not
You're
a
gonna,
problem.
Okay, excellent. And you can send me the raw file of this so I can cut off our little introduction.
Yeah, no problem. I
Yeah,
will
because
give
I'll
you,
share it as well. I have no idea what we're doing, but that's all good.
not to worry. We have Richard
Oh,
Greaves
Mr. Greaves is here. Oh, I feel like
that can
I'm
help
in the
us
midst.
figure out whatever the hell we're good, whatever we're doing. We may, or doing nothing. Who knows?
This is Seinfeld, the show about nothing.
Yeah,
Ah,
pretty close, huh?
Yeah. No, I watched a little bit of you and Fresner, and it's like we're talking about you're talking about your oxy and all that stuff. I go, yeah, let's have a show about drugs. No, no, we're not doing that. Sorry, just kidding.
Yeah.
No,
Richard,
I
how's
think
it
we can.
out where
Oh,
you are?
there
It's
is
it's
some.
snowing here and cold,
Uh,
but not frigid.
it started
I'm gonna
today
grab
at
something here.
4 below 0. It's up to 9 now.
Yeah, I went out just a little while ago. It was 12. I'm heading to Kansas City tomorrow, where they're expected to be at about 8 and -6, which I'm not thrilled about, but oh well. It is what it is. Welcome to wintertime. Jeff, you get to sit in California,
Like
and I know,
it's almost 70 today, but
yeah, I feel so bad for you that you have to have a sweatshirt on today.
yeah, well,
I feel
it's a
bad.
t-shirt sweatshirt from All Made, so but super light. But yeah, it's crazy, but it's California. We got other issues.
Very true. But oh well. In any event, so this is supposed to be on sustainability. So I guess what you could do is give me a rundown uh, on what you do, who you're working with, what the goals are, et cetera.
Right. So are we having a clean start to go like we're live? It's being recorded, or are we
Okay,
live
we're
right
live.
now? We're
Uh,
live right now.
Jeff Solomon is our guest this week on Charlie's Corner. Jeff is heavily involved with sustainability, with T-shirts that will do the things you want them to do, et cetera, et cetera. Jeff, go ahead and give us a rundown on where you are.
All right, so I'm an old first of all, thank you, Charlie, for having me in Charlie's Corner. And I feel really honored to kind of know a lot of the old school decorator guys. I watched some of your shows. My dear friend Scott Fresner was on with, and Richard, I believe you were on that show. And you guys, I'm going, what is Charlie's Corner? It's like a bunch of guys chatting about whatever. It's Seinfeld, the show about nothing. No, whatever we want, wherever we want to go. But anyway, yeah. So I'm an apparel decorator who got into the branded merch industry many years ago at the urging of my wife, and she goes, "Ah, you got to sell." Promo and all this stuff. I go, I'm an apparel decorator. I'm like the real deal. We're actually making stuff. We're not, selling pens and crap like that. But through the years, that's been a big part of my business, and it really it's pretty cool. But I've now gotten into sustainability. A few years ago, my son mentioned, Dad, you ought to think about how things are made. And I don't care. I'm an old guy, we'll blow up the planet. I'll leave whatever we leave for you, whatever. But it did get me thinking about it. And I met Ryan Moore from All Made and worked for them for a little bit. And just an amazing company that cares about doing the right thing. And so through the years, I've been working with sustainability focused companies. Blue Sign out of Europe. That's a sustainability system embraced by many. Uh, Major brands, Patagonia, on it goes. How dyes are handled, some apparel stuff can be a little dirty in terms of the planet and all that kind of stuff. So they strive for a system to make for apparel companies to be accountable in how garments are being produced and stuff. So that's a long So it's been said I speak in long sentences, and there you go. I proved it. Long
Wow.
sentences.
So, I got to work with, is it Neutral?
Oh, neutral, yeah, out of Europe
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
So I did the ITMA show back in June of 2023, and Neutral supplied us with their garments, which I thought were wonderful, by the way.
Hmm.
And the owner of the company is a pretty interesting guy. Have you ever met him?
No, I've not.
Oh, um, he's a bit of an, you know, of a wacko type guy who is definitely uh, very conscientious about sustainability, et cetera. He showed up at the show with his daughter. Uh, just a fun guy to actually spend time with. But his garments were wonderful. Loved his, I don't know if you ever saw his color chart, but it's all little cutouts and, the old paste and glue type stuff of the actual fabric versus a just photograph of the colors. But it was interesting to me because to me, I don't think there's enough companies in the US that really do go after the whole sustainable situation. You have uh, Eric Henry, who, has always been a nut on it. And, having
A
worked with
zealot.
him and been at his shop,
What's that company? Who's that?
um, what's he called? I forgot the name of the company. He's in North Carolina.
That's okay.
Yeah,
We're seniors. We have senior moments.
yeah.
So go
As a
ahead.
matter of fact, I got an email from him this morning, or so if you give me a moment, I can probably pull it up. TS, I think it's TS Designs.
Yes, I agree.
Yep, it is. And Eric Henry has been involved with sustainability for, I can't even think of how far back. I mean, I don't know if he's ever not been involved with sustainability, but he does
As long as
everything,
I've known.
you know, uh, the shirts that he prints on, the cotton is actually grown in North Carolina,
Hmm.
and it's all manufactured in North Carolina. He has an interesting printing process. He's the only one in the world that I know of that's doing that, where he prints the white fabric with a special ink and then dyes the shirt. And the dye does not take where the print is. And so the print and the dye are really one. I mean, you feel nothing. I've got a number of his shirts, and there is no hand to it or anything. So if you wanted to do the poster that's behind you, uh, and you wanted it on 10 different colored shirts, he would print just the gray goods, or which actually are white, with all the colors, and then uh, he would dye the batches based on the color you want.
So he's actually producing, the entire garment with the imprint. I mean, that's pretty unique. I don't know of anybody
Exactly. No, I don't
that's
know.
doing
I mean,
that.
he's not actually making the garment,
Right.
but all
Just
of the
printing.
people who are doing the cutting, sewing, et cetera, are all in the Carolinas, and so everything is within that particular area. His garments sell for a good amount of money because, of course, they're handled all under the U.S. label, and
Right.
the companies that are buying and having his shirts made by him are all very conscientious companies in terms of being environmentally friendly.
Right. Well, and I want to go back to neutral, for a moment. I briefly worked for a company out of Bulgaria, and they are bringing neutral into the U.S. And they were also working with Stanley Stella, and I see that Stanley Stella has now kind of got its own thing going on, and that's another company focused on sustainability. But you know, l- let's talk a little bit about this.
I have to take.
Oh, okay. Well, go
Uh,
ahead, Richard. You and I, we want. I love this.
Tell me
This is the
more.
great. This is the greatest show ever, man. We're just. Let me go get some more coffee. No, I'm good. Um, I was going to ask a very poignant question, and I'll ask you, Richard. So there are companies, of course. Then I want Charlie to get back to it as well. But while we have this dead space to fill, I think this is an important question. Is so there are companies like Neutral and so many companies, and companies are investing in being Blue Sign System
You,
certified. Sorry, Charlie. Okay, are you ready?
okay, well, I have to leave my house to go and take care of that. So it'll be about an hour before I can get out of here.
Oh, okay. He's still on phone.
Okay, I
Okay.
will,
All right, cool. But I wanna ask this question because
not a problem. I didn't
having worked with Blue
misunderstood.
Sign, which is a
I'll
systems
take care of that.
process,
Great.
as I said, that's embraced by many brands,
I do.
including Sanmar has become a Blue Sign Systems partner.
Yes,
And
me
another
too.
great
I
company,
know.
Storm Creek, was the first apparel company to start using Blue Sign System fabrics. So what this is saying is these are companies that are willing to subject themselves to more accountability because that's what the Blue Sign System is. It's like, hey, we're gonna monitor your production process and make sure dyes are being disposed of properly. It's all about the chemistry. I learned a little bit about chemistry in this season, but the question is, and it's part of a bigger question, is so you have companies that are seeing the value of investing money and time and more accountability to be able to document my garment's clean and have a blue sign approved tag or whatever the system is. I'm just using that as an example. And as a broad picture, when you take companies like Neutral and others that are really all made, another one, super focused authentically in their heart, we want to do the right thing. And so my question for you is, you guys see it from the working more with apparel decorators. I think there's a lot of people that could care less, and then there's a lot of people that care a lot. And then there's your brands, like you talked about, Charlie, that are willing to invest in this US made, super clean, product. So where do you think the market's going in terms of sustainable products? I mean, do people obviously companies like Sanmar, they're kind of the crown jewel of the industry. If they're investing in being a Blue Sun Systems partner, and well, it's been in their DNA to do the right thing, how they take care of people. How do you think that does that matter to the average decorator, or where do you think the market's going?
Well, I think both Richard and I probably have our opinions. My opinion is your small shop day to day, for the most part, doesn't really care. Oh, let me rephrase that. They care, but will they spend the extra money or will they try and hit their accounts on it? The accounts that they have are, Joey's birthday party or whatever. And does Joey really worry about that? He doesn't. I think when you start getting to the bigger companies and you start dealing with corporations, I think corporations are willing to spend the money to be sustainable and to highlight the fact that they are. As a matter of fact, um, for a while there, people were going pretty crazy with water-based ink, and so on their business cards they would have the little globe or the droplet of water to show that they were environmentally friendly. Um, as you deal with bigger and bigger corporations, I think the ability for them to spend the money to be sustainable is there. I think when you get to the smaller print shops, it's unless a company or the customer is wanting to go that way, they're probably not going to spend that kind of money. The difference in cost of garments, and I have no idea what garments even sell for because I get mine for free, so I have no idea. Um, but certainly a sustainable garment. I know with Eric, um, when I was there, which is a number of years ago, his base price started at about $15, which is what I considered quite high compared to where a Gildan shirt or a Hanes shirt is. Um, Yet the companies that he's dealing with and printing for are absolutely willing to spend that money,
Mhm.
and he definitely keeps them busy. So I just think it comes down to uh, where is where's the print shop going in terms of trying to push that customer to a particular side? Richard, you want to jump in on that?
Well, I heard an old saw that, of course, I love to jump on, and that is the wonder of water-based ink. And if people really understood what goes into water-based ink, they wouldn't be very happy.
I agree
So
with you.
in the 1980s, early 1980s, Terry Kaiserman taught me how to make my own water-based ink. And it was quite illuminating. And part of that is that in dealing with a chemist that I met then, it's him that actually said it, and I've said this in hundreds of seminars. I would dip my spoon into white plastisol, and I wouldn't like it, but I'd lick it off the spoon. I wouldn't like the taste, but I'm not going to die. Whereas, no way, if Gal Gadot was here, ready to take her bathrobe off, and said, Richard, I'll do it if you drink 1 cup of water-based ink, I wouldn't do it. Because all the nasty chemicals, such as I have behind me here, all the nasty chemicals in water wash up inks. Water wash up is completely different from water based. So, grandma in the 1970s, she might have made a water based ink, but the fact that it doesn't dry on the screen anymore, the fact that you can run it for the entire day, that means there's other chemicals in it. It may wash up with water. And that's what makes it incredibly more dangerous. And where do those chemicals go? They go down the drain, or they go up in the air, or they go on the shirt. And we love what it does on the shirt, but we have no real concept of what it's doing to our water filtration plants and what it's doing to the volatile, because of volatile organic chemicals. So that's just the ink alone. I made shirts for 15 years, starting in the early 1980s. And I saw all the work it goes to dyeing and knitting and weaving. Once you've seen a weaving machine in Italy make mesh, you'll never complain about paying, whatever it is that we pay for 300 stitches per inch ink. The the work that goes in. So 40, 50 years ago, there was a video that's still around called Blue Vinyl. And it was about how vinyl is made. An incredible amount of our ink is made out of vinyl extras, that sort of thing. It's something to watch, but it shows all the work, all the water that it takes to dig and drill the raw chemicals. So my focus on sustainability has always been sort of point the finger at how we're disposing of and what are we doing with all those shirts that we buy and then just throw away, or recycling in general. Charlie?
It's interesting that you mentioned Terry Kaiser because I mean I've worked with Terry as well, and I mean he's a brilliant chemist, and matter of fact he's now doing coffee. I don't know if you knew that, coffee and
In the
tea.
little cups, right?
Yep, and they're actually quite good. He sent me a selection of those, but uh, he was also printing medicine. Uh, and I mean, he's just a brilliant individual. And back when I
Little
started,
slips of paper that turn into soap. So
yeah,
something that looks like inch and a half by an inch and a half. You put it in your hands, you wet your hands, and that piece of paper turns into soap.
yeah, back in the '70s when I started, uh, we didn't do water-based. We did uh, textiles, which was an oil and water system. And of course, back then, no one was too worried about the environment. I mean, you'd use chemicals then that you wouldn't even want to go near today. Um, which is interesting. Water-based, and that was my feeling way back when Nike was pushing water-based. It's like, oh yeah, we're pushing it because it's environmentally friendly. It's like, really? You're right. Plastisol is a solid. What you see is what you get. Water-based has VOCs. Uh, it is not a friendly. It's really not friendly, and actually they're working more and more towards plastisols that are more environmentally friendly now. I know Avient has a particular group that they're going to be putting out, or they've already put it out, where it has more environmentally friendly characteristics, but still it is a vinyl of some sort, and the ability for it to degrade is still going to take some time. But I think as far as safety goes, it's a hell of a lot safer than water-based, and would I want to deal with water-based as far as putting it in my system? No, I think it does some wonderful things. I don't know what Eric's inks are, but knowing Eric, I'm sure that they are obviously environmentally friendly, uh, as are the dyes that he works with. Have you ever been out to his place?
I've never visited him, no.
Oh, so he has his own dye house and everything. Not a huge situation, but everything that he does, he has control over. So nothing is, including the inks that he deals with, um, whatever that particular last coat is, that's a clear that holds all the ink in place so that he can dye the garment. He makes that up. It has a very short shelf life, so he has to mix it, I think, twice a day. Um, but he's definitely the premier environmentalist, as far as I'm concerned, in this industry, and he won't touch anything that isn't sustainable. It's just not him. Um, but as far as companies, would they go in that direction? Um, what's your feelings about it, Richard? Is it somewhat in line with mine, or do you have your own version of what?
I don't know that I've seen any corporate following or trying to promote that. Again, they promote the theater of of we're in vinyl or what if they can get that symbol, the gas symbol in Europe, or I mean I said the wrong thing. The GOT symbol from Europe, or that they get that badge and they're happy with that.
Yeah,
Otherwise, they're avoiding that because
yeah,
that costs money.
yeah.
Environmentalism costs more money, and nobody wants a $15 shirt to start raw material.
It's
So, okay,
interesting.
so I always feel like in conversations like this, for whoever's watching, it's always a learning experience. And like, is there then not a misconception about water-based inks being clean? Because frankly, I thought water-based inks were clean. Now I'm learning they're not.
No,
What's the right ink? I know that we love, and for my shop, you stick that plastisol ink, it can stay on the screen, it doesn't go anywhere. And I know the contract decorators I use, they're not really interested in printing with environmentally friendly inks because maybe they're harder to work with. Certainly they don't want to touch water based. What's the right ink then? And if it's, if I share this with my audience and their promo people, I think the promo people are not so aware of these decorating techniques. And if they wanted to really uh, work with a more sustainable focused contract decorator, what's the right inks? What are people using that's better than plastisol or different, or what's your thoughts on that?
well, even with water-based, I mean, the big thing is when you do your cleanup, among other things, you need to pull the resin out. And so, fortunately, in today's world, most shops do have a filtration system. So they can filter off a lot of the stuff that isn't supposed to go down the drain. There are still plenty of shops that let everything go right down the drain, which is stupid on their side, but nevertheless, you can't convince them that they're stupid about it. The ink companies are always trying to come up with something that is more sustainable. I know that, like I said, Avient, I know has been working on one, and it may already be out, that is a plastisol, but it has different characteristics than the quote unquote the standard plastisol. Um, the biggest thing is, will an ink break down over a period of time if it's disposed of? And with plastisol, it's a solid. So if you can take it and harden it, then it's not going to really do a whole lot of damage. so to speak, but it certainly won't biodegrade very easily.
Right. I
Um,
don't think it biodegrades at all, right? I mean, seemingly.
I'm not sure what the life on plastisol is, to be honest with you. Like, I never took a chemistry class, nor am I about to start at this point. But
Right.
um, you know, inks that are also considered quite good are silicone ink. But again, I don't know what the uh, life of silicone ink is. You have any idea on that, Richard?
Well, again, it's all the extra chemicals that evaporate. And in silicone and in plastisol, they're 100% solids. You don't have any evaporatives. So that eliminates VOCs. And so that's a huge part of it, because when you're printing a water-based ink, you have maybe 20% pigments and combination of the other chemicals and some resin, and 60% are the volatiles. So yes, there's water, but not as much water as you might imagine. There's humectants and things to make it so that there's no mold and mildew. I mean, humectants to make sure, like ethylene, not ethylene glycol, but like glycerins that are just like what's in inkjet ink. You want to talk about something being not sustainable? Cartridges and inkjet ink, inkjet ink, same thing. 80% evaporates, and it's all volatile organic chemicals.
So
And
what
then
should, go ahead. No, you finish. You
so
finish your
the
thought.
solids that are left over. So you get your bucket of ink that's dirty, and you say, that's enough. I'm going to wash the bucket, and it goes down the drain because it's water based. No, it's maybe water based, but all the pigment is going to your water filtration system. You wouldn't do any of that. You wouldn't put an ounce of ink, of plastisol ink, down your drain. What you'd be doing is you scrape it out onto a cookie sheet, and you cook it, or you put calcium carbonate on it so that you make it cross-link chemically or with heat. Now, all
Right.
that costs money. Heat costs money. So, is that sustainable? All the heat that we use, is it worthwhile? You think of all the byproducts. How does heat get to us? The gasoline, where did all those parts come from? And we're able to buy a gallon of that stuff for only $70. Wow, it's amazing. Jeff?
Okay, so this is very eye-opening. You know, what I thought was clean wasn't clean. And the reality is most people, whether, again, I speak from the promo industry that goes to a contract decorator, the type of people that you guys consult with in, how to be efficient and, run a proper business and so forth. So I don't know that there's and I think there are very few of these people that are running contract decorating shops, or that are really focused on doing the right thing. And I guess, are there any if there was somebody that really cared about this and wanted to find a decorator that would decorate their garments properly, or at least the most proper way, like, what, for one, okay, so a couple questions. What's the best inks to use in theory? And what might be some suggestions you have to find a contract decorator that really wants to do the right thing? Because I will tell you that on the highest level, the promo people that are working with those bigger companies, you're right, Charlie. The guy printing, Joey's birthday T-shirts, they don't care. But if you're dealing with a Fortune 500 company, they absolutely want to see the tracking. There's QR codes now in the apparel. On the high level, people care. But just in general, any suggestions on how to find a responsible contract decorator, and what would be the questions you might ask, uh, to help get the right guy, if you cared about that? Maybe not many do, but if you did.
You know, so we're knocking water-based to some extent, but nevertheless, just because of the VOCs more than anything else, uh, filtration systems certainly do pull off a lot of the byproduct, and that's not a bad thing. So you're going to find companies that are willing to work with water-based probably have more of a slant towards being environmentally friendly. Uh, you
I
know,
agree.
so to me, that's probably what I would look at is who is willing to work with water-based. And there are a number of companies that will only deal with water-based
Hmm.
and won't even touch plastisol. A lot of it has to do with when they got into the industry. If they started out with water-based ink, they may never have gone to plastisol. Trying to convert a company that was on plastisol to water-based is definitely the challenge. Um, so companies who were printing for Nike all had to go to water-based. That was part of the deal with Nike. If you wanted to print for them, that's fine. You could, but you had to print with water-based inks. I don't
It's
know if
still
that
then
still holds.
water-based is a better choice than plastisol, even though not as clean as we think it is. Just because we were ragging on water-based before, but is it better than plastisol, or like you're saying, Charlie, that water-based might be for the more sustainable focus? But I think it's mixed signals. And Richard, you're having a heart attack over
I
that.
say they're misguided.
You
They
think it's
they
misguided?
they
Yeah,
they believe, but they don't really understand. In the same way that people that buy electric automobiles think that it's manna from heaven. It's
yeah.
a saintly. I'm pure. Where does all those lithium and cobalt comes from those batteries?
Right.
And what are you going to do with your battery when you have to replace it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, you have what will you do? What do you do with the batteries that you use now?
Yep.
Are you just throwing them in the trash? Those batteries are not good for our water systems. Enough said.
So in
And
That
answer to
how
the
do you create
question,
how do you create electricity? How do you create all that stuff?
I
Yep.
agree with you. That's the whole thing with electric cars is they're looking at what they're using when they drive. What about everything it takes to get you to the point of driving? And I totally agree with you on that. I think I'm waiting for the hydrogen cars to come out.
so yeah, no, exactly. Whatever the solution's there. I mean, obviously that's a big old thing, but just bringing it down to the average, person who wants to just responsibly decorate. What might they ask or say to a
Yeah,
decorator?
I want them to look at how clean the shop is
Hmm?
because people that are clean are basically not going to throw trash down the toilet.
Yeah.
They're still going to have VOCs, but a clean place is going to represent somebody that has a better environment. Just as when you go visit someone at their home, if they get a clean home or they got a house like I live in that's very messy because I really don't care about the mess. I care about other stuff. I'm not environmentally pure.
If I were going out to find a shop, I would still look for a shop that is doing water-based, only because chances are they're more involved with the environment. And so they're probably more willing to push a sustainable shirt, meaning their customers are probably willing to pay that extra money to get a shirt that has sustainability. That would be my take.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, okay, so I have something here. I'm going to try to not show the actual imprint, but I was actually sent a shirt, and no secret to me, I'm a huge fan of All Made. Love the people, love the shirt. But I got this shirt. It's an All Made long sleeve shirt, and it's a massive imprint. I'm not going to show you the print because
Are you
to
sure it's
I
an?
me, it's
Oh,
so
okay.
thick. It's a thick, puff, full, just gobbed.
high density.
I think they ruined the shirt in my mind. Am I
Well, it's a
wrong? Do I
high.
have an attitude? Am I just a jaded old man that gets mad, because
Yeah,
they,
you are.
well, okay, there we
Uh,
go.
it's probably a high density print. And so
What does that mean?
it was meant to be thick and high and dimensional.
Right, exactly. Is that
Yeah.
good? Is that good or bad? Is that not in all environmentally friendly,
Well,
right?
it's a plastisol,
It's a plastic. Yeah, it feels that.
probably. It could also be a silicone.
Yep.
Because they do make you can build your silicone up as well. Uh, it's done on purpose. So that's not because it's a bad print. It's because
Oh,
that's what they were looking to do.
no, no, exactly. It's not they got what they wanted. I personally think it's super ugly, but it's also from my perspective, it's not at all environmentally friendly as silicone or thick plastic. I mean, it's just like we're going for a look and we really don't care, but we put it on a beautiful, super clean all made tea. So anyway, it is what it is. I just thought I would
Yeah.
bring that up as an example. But I don't know, maybe now I'm a little too focused I love a sustainable fabric. I'll tell you, Storm Creek's a line. They were the first blue sign systems partner in the US. I love the line. The fabrics are great. But it is true in many cases it does come with a cost. And I know with the president of that company, Doug, who I've had the privilege of talking with many times, it from their perspective, yes, it costs us more to use this clean fabric, and in this case, be Blue Sign System certified. But I know my product's clean, and I know that when I deliver it, and they have a full line of apparel. It's beautiful, out of Minnesota, and so that's worth it to them, and it's worth it to their buyer. Now, their buyer is not everybody, so they're catering, to a particular need. And I do think there is a trend in the branded merch industry. You guys deal mostly with the decorators actually printing the stuff, but there is a trend uh, to to more sustainable products, and that's why Sandmar's investing in it, and others, doing in it, and there are some other GOTS certified um, people in the U.S. That's an organic cotton thing that's pure. So I think there's a trend to it. But on the decorating side, are we just going to blow it if we put crap on a clean product? I mean, maybe yeah, maybe no. I don't know. Then there's a whole deal about not recycling, but repurposing these. There are companies that are repurposing and taking these shirts and turning them into something else. They don't go in the landfill. There's a lot of interesting things happening. It might be a little out of your scope from working with the shops, but good stuff is happening, it seems.
But, um, I mean, sustainability is certainly a big to do. Uh, you're seeing more and more of the digital companies pushing their quote unquote sustainable products, going on to garments that are, they're pushing sustainability. If you look at what Printing United constantly has out there, or discussions on it, um, they don't talk much about garments, but they do talk about all the other phases of the industry. And it's definitely one of those things that's brought to the attention of the printers, as far as yeah, and even companies like you say, Sanmar is moving that direction. I think Sanmar and any of the distributors are going to go wherever their clients are asking them to go. And certainly, a company the size of Sanmar needs to be diversified enough to have sustainable product versus standard product. Um, uh, you know, I'm sure S&S isn't that far behind, et cetera. So who knows? I think just trying to get to the average printer to really think in terms of sustainability, although at the shows it's talked about heavily, they get back to their shop, and unless a customer asks for it, they're not going to be pushing it. The shirt that you have with that really thick ink. So one of the workshops or seminars that I've done is on special effects. And, going into some of the shops that I've gone into, I said, hey, do you have a printed high density? The answer is always no. No, my customers never asked for it. Well, your customer can't ask for it because they don't know what the hell it is. So unless you're willing to educate them and give them a rundown of what it is, you're never going to sell it. So with sustainable shirts and sustainable, quote unquote, sustainable printing, will they ask for it? Big Fortune 500 companies, they might, because they have higher ups to answer to. The average company is never going to ask for it unless you go out and push it.
Right.
Welcome to sales.
Yeah.
Welcome to marketing.
Well,
Everybody who is quote unquote sustainable, on their letterheads, on their business cards, had that little droplet of water or that little green earth. And if you asked them what it was about, it was like, hey, I use water-based sink, so I put that on there because this way they know I'm sustainable. Really? Okay. So that's what it takes to be sustainable is to put it on your business card.
Well, it's interesting. So what I do in addition to being an old-time retired apparel decorator and a promo products or branded merch distributor, I've been publishing the branded we created with a few other industry misfits. You might know my dear friend Jay Bussell. He's a driver in this as well. The Brand Merch Network, and it's really a community of kind of forward-thinking branded merch. We like to say, misfits. We think a little bit differently. And it was last year I stumbled on the idea of why it matters because I've been engrossed in this whole sustainability topic and uh, and working with these companies. And I'm thinking, why does it matter? Why does it matter for an apparel company or really a branded merch company to do the right thing? When we talk about branded merch products, that's another whole world. We've been talking about apparel, but we're talking about, this drinkware and all, so much stuff. Uh, and we see a move towards more recyclable fabrics and more just responsible manufacturing of products. But nevertheless, through the branded merch network, I come with this idea: why does it matter for a company to make a better product? Why does it matter for a person like me who sells this stuff to sell a better product? And why does it matter for an end user buyer to put their branded merch or their brand message on that product? And the reality is, if you can put your logo or brand message on something that somebody's going to go, wow, this is really nice. They're going to love it. They're going to keep it. They're going to use it. Then that is sustainability. That's not some giving away some friggin' stress ball on a piece of, rubber or whatever. It's just going to go in the landfill. Like, why are we even doing that? So through the Branded Merch Network, we're trying to push forward this concept, and that's why I'm always trying to bring in this time these questions that people might ask and think about doing the right thing. And it's not for everybody. A lot of people, why it matters, it doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I want to just get the order done, make the money. My dear friend Rod Brown says you got to make money. That's really the bottom line in business. And so whether you can stand out from the crowd by offering a sustainable product, may cost a little more, maybe the margin's a little better, for you, or it's just doing the right thing. I think it's a topic that is certainly worth discussing here in the time we have, and people can either care about it or not care about it, and we're all going to do our own thing anyway. But that's kind of where I'm at is trying to push forward the sustainability message. And I do think that when people get a really great product, like I'm working right now with a very large client, and I'm showing them the all made shirt, and yeah, it's a little bit more, but I know that when they touch and feel this tri blend, they're going to love it. And if they have it in the budget, I guarantee you um, they'll use it and love it. And it'll be different from giving away. I won't use, God, how many Gildan Ultra Cottons have I sold through the years? Not like it's an awful shirt, but it's just like, I don't think I've sold one in years because we're not doing that kind of stuff anymore. But, no knock on that particular product. But if I can sell something that's like really rock sustainability wise and it feels great, when the recipient gets it, they're not throwing it out. It's not going into I've gotten shirts from races. I occasionally crawl through a 5K or 10K race or whatever, but I get shirts that just go right in the donation pile. I just not keeping this. So anyway, that's my kind of a few we kind of wind down a few thoughts on where I'm coming from and why it matters to even have this conversation.
You know,
So I throw ice water on tri-blend
Say again,
because
sorry.
triple blend, tri-blends,
Okay.
because there's your unsustainable synthetic fabrics. So eventually that's going to show up someplace. And the synthetic part of that, just like the synthetic part of the print. So you didn't like that super high density one. We love it when they're wearing it and people love it, but eventually it has to be disposed of. And that's where I would focus for your search for the right person. Someone's going to come up with bring your shirts to us and we'll recycle them or something like that, they'll find a way that turns recycling into something worthwhile. Now, cities are trying to do this all across the nation, but I hear nothing but, yeah, it's strictly theater. You bring in your bottles, but then where do they go? And so in the early days of the OSHA rules of disposal of hazardous chemicals, the Hazard Communication Standard from the early 1980s, and that was if you didn't know exactly, you were supposed to follow the truck to wherever it might dump what you just gave it to get rid of. Because if you didn't know, you were still liable. So I'm just saying we could embrace that and say, where's this going to end up? You held up a great mug, and I'll counter that with a plastic cup from 7-Eleven. Can't see it in the green screen here. But, you know, your metal thing is going to be a lot more sustainable than this plastic made out of petroleum. Jeff?
Charlie, go ahead.
You know, I
Let's get to
I
final
never,
words here.
I never understood why people did really cheap promo shirts. To me, it always drove me crazy. It's like you're spending the money to promote something. You're giving them a shirt that they're going to probably wash their car with as opposed to wearing it. If you spent a bit more money, or if you spent the same amount of money but didn't buy as many shirts, you at least have something where people are wearing them and enjoying them and promoting your product. Because, you know, what's a t-shirt? It's a walking billboard. And so the idea of buying the cheapest shirt on the market so that you can hand out that many more of them, who cares? You know, they're not going to be seen anyway. So hand out as many as you want, but those aren't going to be seen. You know, as far as tri-blends and stuff, first of all, they feel good. Are they really wonderful? They're a pain in the ass to print, I can tell you that. I've spent more time in shops getting them to understand how to print a tri-blend than anything else. When they first started to hit, I was asked by one of the companies to put together a step-by-step procedure for working with tri-blends. And in the end, my procedure was real simple: embroider the shirt.
So, so I want to say one thing about the All Made shirt. Okay, this is a tri-blend, but it's tencel modal, it's organic cotton and recycled bottles. And if you know the All Made story, this shirt was actually, created by decorators to have a better shirt to print on. So this might not be your typical poly tri-blend, which is probably more common. So I think this is kind of in its own little zone. So I want to kind of do a shout out for what makes this shirt different. It was developed by printers, and printers like printing on them and all that kind of stuff. But I think you raise a great point. I will need to run out here in a couple minutes.
Yes,
I
you
want to
do.
make sure
You
to,
got 3 minutes before you're out of here.
yeah,
Ah,
exactly. I got so, anyway, but hey, can I make a shameless plug for the Branded Merch Network?
Yeah, go ahead.
brandonmerchnetwork.com. We have some content up there. We're working on some new things. We're excited about finally realizing that the Branded Merch Network needs to have more branded merch on it. So we're working on a really exciting the Merch Media Lab, which will be launched shortly. And well, actually, whenever people see it, anyway. But there's content up there on why it matters and some other things, and people can opt in to get our e-newsletter that goes out and brandonmerchnetwork.com. That's it. Last words from you. Any last question for me as we wrap up?
Jeff, thanks so much for being on here. Richard, thanks for jumping in on us. Uh, this was really one of the better sessions, I think. We actually,
Oh, well, boy, that really speaks.
well,
Well,
you know, I mean,
no,
to
I
me, I
won't make
think
a
the
joke.
thing is when you raise a lot of questions and have some answers and maybe make people think, I think that's a good session. So to me, this one was quite good. Thanks so much for being on. Maybe have you again down the road.
All
I
right.
used to
Richard,
fish for
hope to
Jeff
see you at the
30
next
years
one
ago.
again.
Yeah, like how long has it been? Like 30 years and back to
30 years ago.
Fresno. And man, it
Right.
was great to see you guys both in the Long Beach
Long Beach.
Expressions Expo. And, we now have a tradition, Charlie and I, a cigar. We
Yeah,
get
we do.
Fresno in there from Arizona. It will
Perfect.
be our thing. Sadly, we got to wait a year, though, to do that now. So next January.
Well, that's all right.
I
We'll
always
catch
go
up
on
sooner or
those
later.
events. as the dedicated driver.
Gentlemen, have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll let you know when the next one is. Thanks
Great. Have a
again.
great
Bye-bye,
day.
Jeff. Bye-bye.